Mic check, 1 2 1 2. We're here.
You're now listening to A-Rock Music.
Just Blaze. Once upon a time in the project.
Yeah, there we go. Mic Check Podcast. I am your host, as always, your mom's favorite, Jay Blessike. Get with it. Good show today. We have on the show today's interview. All right, had to clear that. Cape Championship Wrestling's own, the one, the only, the best of the best, Austin Lane. You don't want to miss that. Had a real good time. How are you doing today? You doing all right today? Relaxed? Work treating you well? Good. Good. Before we get into the interview, one quick thing. Hey, all you people out there who decide to be stupid enough to just leave your kid locked in the car in the middle of summer, anytime, hey, go kill yourself, go play in the street, drink bleach, all those good things. Got no love for you, no respect for you, no sympathy for you. And you getting to go in, it's just like anybody else who comes with this crap. Oh, he wasn't in his right state of mind. Fuck that. Yes, you were. You knew what was up. I mean, you don't have to be in your right state of mind to know, hey, look, it's hot as hell. Hot as balls out here. Leave the kids locked in the car. What's the worst that could happen? Reading about a woman, it might have been Houston. I don't remember where it was at. I don't remember these type of things. Besides, she's going to leave the kids locked in the car, teach them a lesson. Since they didn't want to get out the car when she told them to, since they were playing in there. Teach them a lesson. Lock them in the car, shut the door, go in the house, smoke a blunt, take about a 3-hour nap. Yeah. Wish bad things upon you. Bad things. That's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get the vibe right back up. Like I said, really good interview. Austin Lane. If you don't know who Austin Lane is, check him out. Showstopper, show stealer, anywhere he goes. So, without further ado, this week's blockbuster Mic Check Podcast guest. Remember, you can go or rent 6 VHSs. Tell them your mom's favorite sent you, and they'll give you one more free and a pack of Pop Rocks. So, here it is.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2. We're here.
But today's guest, he appeared on the Brain on Wrestling podcast more than anybody in history. Anybody. He also is the man that I led to the ring for my only manager match ever. So I can't remember if you won or lost that, but I know I was the one who led you to the ring. You might have lost. Lord.
If I lost, it was my fault. If I won, it was all because of you.
No, actually it was a plan. It was a reenactment of the great Hogan Nash match. Let's see. It's simple. He's the best of the best. Cape Championship Wrestling's own Austin Lane. And he is in like 40 Hall of Fames. And he still has about 1 million Wrestler of the Year awards. Where do you keep all these Wrestler of the Year awards? Garage big enough?
Yeah, I've filled up the garage. I got a couple of rooms in the house. I got all those awards and plaques and big rings and everything. I guess when you get that many awards, that many Hall of Fames, all that means you pretty much are getting old.
Is that okay? So the mansion just gets bigger as the awards keep coming, is what you're saying?
Yes, it does. It does. Always.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the very last time I talked to you and we had you on, before the brain on wrestling. May it rest in peace. You were getting ready to retire.
Yes.
Dude, that's been like 5 years ago. And every time I turn around, you're in the ring with somebody doing something. You do know what retiring means, right?
Yeah. You know what what the guy who trained me, Jerry Lynn, always said, you never really retire from wrestling.
This is true. Unless you're Shawn Michaels.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Now, was it kind of planned? Or did one day there was an offer or something, you just like, you know what? Let's do it. Why stop? Let's keep going.
Well, believe it or not, I guess it was about 5 years ago. I'd one of my physicals. I went to the doctor and I found out I had some really bad pinched nerves, some bulging discs, and some slipped vertebrae in my neck and in my back and everything. And I was pretty much forced to retire. So I went on a little retirement tour and then I retired. And there was actually no plan to actually get back into the wrestling business. What had happened was I retired so that I wouldn't have to have back surgery.
Right.
And so during the retirement, I was getting steroid injections. And after I actually was retired for about a year and a half. But about a year and a half into retirement, one of my doctor visits, the doctor, for the first time, he wouldn't clear me before that, but he cleared me and actually told me that as long as I didn't get back, into like I was doing full time, doing 5-6 matches a week, as long as I didn't get back into that, maybe 1 a week or 2 a week or something like that, he said that I would, I'd be able to get back into the ring and wrestle again. So I thought about it for a little bit, and I didn't know at first if I should, and if I knew I wanted to, because, the wrestling business is just a love of mine ever since I was a kid. But once I decided and I got a couple offers, I was like, you know what? I think it's time to knock the dust off the boots and see if the old man still had it.
Yeah, so basically it's the doctor's fault that you come out of retirement.
Yep, pretty much. I blame him every day now.
Right. He's like, man, I had this under control. I was enjoying life. And then you went and did this. Now, when all this was said, how did your wife feel about that?
Well, she's always supported me from day one. Nikki's awesome. She's supported me from the time when I met her, it was in the wrestling business. We were both already in the business, and she told me as long as if I got to a point where I couldn't move and wasn't having fun anymore, then I could quit and she'd stand behind me. And as long as I made that promise to her that, she would support me, and she's been there since day one. So,
like, let me see. Who was when you came out, when you told everybody, hey, I'm back.
Yep.
Who was the first match? Who'd you get in the ring with first?
Lee Michaels. It was Lee Michaels, and it was in Tuckerman, Arkansas for ASWF, and got it in the ring, stole the show, and
of course,
yeah, and realized, so you know what, I might still have a little bit left in the tank. It was one of those where I kind of had something to prove to myself that I could still do it. With all the Wrestler of the Year awards, and I pretty much went out on top. I went out the year I retired. I still, even on the half a year, won like 3 different Wrestler of the Year awards. So, and then of course Jason the Brain, he called me up, about a year ago. Yeah, he called me up a year ago, and that's where the challenge really got amped up, I guess you could say, when he asked me if I was actually he actually asked me if I still could go like I used to, and like I told him, I was like, yeah, I can still go. And he asked me, he said, well, can you go on the level of someone like Ricochet?
Yes. I saw that match. It was a hell of a match.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I wasn't real familiar. I'd heard of him at the time, and I wasn't real familiar. I hadn't watched a lot of his stuff. And before I told Jason yes, I looked him up and everything just to see what I was getting myself into, and I watched him and Will Ospreay from New Japan. And when I saw that and I seen what all he was doing, it was pretty much I looked in the mirror and said, all right, guy, let's see if the old man still has it. So I accepted the match, went out there. We We tore the house down, had an unbelievable match. I mean, the speed that we were going and the things that we did, I thought after retiring and about 19 years in the business, I had one of, if not my best match ever.
Now, what if you would have accepted the match and then went and looked him up? How do you think your response would have been?
If I would have said, yeah, I'll wrestle the guy. I mean, don't know much about him. Then I looked him up and I seen the stuff that he was doing. It might have been a different conversation with Jason. I might have been calling Jason up and said, I don't know what the hell I just got myself into, but I don't know if I can do this.
Now, at what point in your career did you just say, you know what, let me look into this person before I just before I just keep on accepting every match? Because I'm pretty sure there was a part in your career where you really didn't care. If someone called and said, hey, can you be here, wrestle this guy? He was like, all right, yeah, I'll be there, whatever. At what point did you like, you know what, I might want to start checking into some of these people before I just start jumping in the ring with everybody?
Yeah, I think it was right around the time that I started having neck and back problems, because then it was at the point where I'm not going to accept every match because I don't want to go out there with some guy that's green and it's going to drop me on my head, or,
right.
You know, you got to take care of your family and stuff like that. So at that point, I started looking guys up before I accepted matches. Now, before that, because I've always been like a student of the game. I've always been the type of guy that wants to be the very best. You know, every show I go to, I want to be the best match. And 99.9% of the time I am. But a lot of that has to do with when I first started wrestling, when we got to the age of being able to go on the internet and look up guys and look at their matches and their move sets and what they do. I was immediately started doing that, because I'd show up at a show and I'd never wrestled so-and-so before, and I'd show up. I'll just use the example. The first time I ever wrestled Jerry Lynn, except the match beforehand, and the entire month before that match, I looked up every Jerry Lynn match I could possibly look up, studied his movements. I wanted to get in the ring like what I did with Jerry. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, we can call it back here, we can call it out there. But we got in the ring and I started calling his spots for him. And we had a great match and hit it off. And he's the one who kind of polished me up and showed me how to work. But I'll go out there and I'll call your spots for you, because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to study everything about you, your mannerisms, your movements, everything. It's one of those deals where I don't want to be just a wrestler. I want people to remember. I want people to look back and say, hey, I remember seeing Austin Lane wrestle, you know, and tell their grandkids about it, because I want to go out there and be the best. And that was just one step. I felt like to be the best is to always be able to know your opponent, know what he does, be able to call it for him. I mean, that's what I consider being a pro.
I mean, what was his response when y'all get back to the back and he's like, damn, you calling my spots for me? I appreciate that.
Actually, when we were out in the ring, we started meeting with Jerry first time. It was a crazy show. It was an ECW reunion show, and it was in Chicago. And so it was an outdoor show at a bar. There's drinking, half naked, some naked women, there. It was one of those where it was a crazy show, and
it was ECW environment.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the ironic part was the very beginning of, I introduced myself, hey, how are you doing? And everything. And then right off the bat, the show was starting, and he said, hold on a second. I need to watch this first match. The guys in the match asked me if I'd watch it. And I said, oh, okay. He said, we walked over to the TV screen, started watching it. First match had barbed wire, light bulbs, table on fire, had everything. And he turned to me. We were both standing in front of the TV screen, and he turned to me and he said, no, we're going to go out there and wrestle. And I told him, I said, oh, yes, we are. That's all we're doing.
Like, I can't afford
this. So we went
this.
out there. I started calling the spots for him and everything. I'd call spots. And during the match, I don't remember what part of the match it was, but during the match, I remember him looking at me and he's like, "Daggum, kid, you know everything I'm going to do before I do it?" And I thought it was funny. But talking about what he said after the match, that's when after the match was over with, he gave me a huge hug and he said,